Do you have any questions about the moon cycle since we're going to be getting started?
Um, well, I have a lot of questions, but are we talking about the moon cycle or the whole the whole, because we've been doing, the spring cycle,
Right.
um, and working with the moon cycle. I finished a complete
Yeah,
one.
I love it.
And I did one full, I did the waxing,
Okay.
but that's as far as I got with the waning.
The waning.
And it's because I used to do tarot like every day. So I would pull a card and I would record it. And every time I try to go back to that daily routine, it just doesn't work for me. It's I have a lot of different things. These are all things that I need to try to get into my sacred morning time.
Mm.
And I have a lot of different things that I do in that time. So if there's something that I have to do every day, it can tend to kind of take over. So I need to let go of the individual waning and waxing cycles and just focus on
Moon.
the moon cycle.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's
Because
good.
I spend a lot of time in doing this, and even when I just do two spheres, I can spend up to an hour
Okay.
doing that. So that I feel is enough time for this. I also had a really hard time. I loved doing the daily, because and then there will be times where I will probably do that, but I had I had a lot of difficulties matching it up with the
Mm.
cycles.
Okay.
And one of the things that I try to do for the waning, and I may try it again for this next period, but it'll look different, is to not use the seed words, because the seed words kept throwing me off. It's like if I'm in the moon cycle and I am in these spheres over here, and then I'm on this one, and I'm over here. I was just like, okay, I don't know. I need, I don't know. I don't know what I need, but it was too many overlapping, because then you also have the whole spring cycle
Yes.
thing,
Yeah.
right? It
Right.
was just too much going on.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that they're not. So what I'm hearing is that when someone might start using it, they don't see the interlink between the cycles. So like you can start to see the solar and the moon and the season kind of linking up, but the waxing and waning daily doesn't quite fit into like a cogs
Yeah.
of how you're using it. But I think that it could be the fact that two things may not work for you, right? Or you have to alter it to work for you. Like you have
Right.
to gain that perspective, and then you only get it from trying it. So let me use this time then just to kind of talk about the waxing and the waning. The 7 seed words are like stepping stones that take you from nothing, the darkness, around back to the darkness. So if we have the waxing, we're building up energy. When I use my, like, say, we're just going to talk about the waxing. So when I do the waxing, the new moon is the purpose in the center. So each day that I go through one of those seed words, those are the mechanism to make that purpose tangible, right? They're like the formula that makes that purpose tangible that first week, the inner 6 that go around the purpose. And then the second one is the, the evaluate. So I'm not able to seem to articulate. I can see it as I'm trying to tell you how these. So let me try it this way. If I have my purpose, let me use my actual example that might help me. I have my purpose for this waning cycle that we're on, the one that you didn't get to complete. So mine is complete. So at the full moon, I, started my purpose in the center. And then each day I thought, okay, today is ground. How will I ground this waning purpose for this 2 weeks? How will I ground that? And then the next day I'm like, what is my intention to fulfill that purpose? And then the next day, what can I observe to fulfill that purpose? So each one of those seeds is only relating to that inner seed word of the waning cycle. So then when I get to connect, how can I connect today for my week? Do you see what I'm saying? So then I got to express. So what can I express today that will help me with this weekly purpose or this waning purpose? So each one of those seed words is a perspective of how to focus on that one center purpose that's for 2 weeks, either the waxing energy or the waning energy. So it's like, that is the daily practice is my journey. It is the stepping stones that help me get the overall perspective of what that purpose is for that page. And somehow that page's purpose and all of those daily stepping stones are the actual like homework, the experience that helps me to stay on track with the moon. So for me personally, if I didn't do my daily practice, the daily spheres, then I would be missing a component of self-reflection that would give me perspective and experience to focus and anchor in that day. So without that, then I'm not putting energy, I'm not putting a charge towards my moon, except for when I go to do my moon chart. So do you see how, so for me, it makes sure that every day I have, it takes me about 5 to 15 minutes to do one of the spheres in the morning, depending on if I want to put a lot of energy into it or not. So what I'll do is if I get a tarot card, and I don't have a lot of time or I connect with it, I'll just write the message down and it takes me 5 minutes. But then if I want to dive deeper because I have more time or it's really interesting, then I might do research like you're saying, then I'm spending a lot of time in it. So I make sure that I allow myself to only put the energy and time in the daily practice that I have allowed. You know what I mean? Like my day kind of dictates that. So if I have a lot going on, I might just do a quick message.
Right.
Does that give you any perspective?
And I get that. But I'm not, and this is really probably a personal thing of mine, is I'm not good at these daily, doing something every day, the same thing every day.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I said, when I first started doing tarot, I did it daily for months. For a long time, I did it daily, and then it fell off because other things kind of took importance in my life. And every time I've tried to go back to that, it's just, it was something that it's just something that I need to let go of. And, and I think it's because I have other practices. I have other things that bring me into that space that you're talking about.
Okay.
With getting in, where you need this
right
every day. I have other things that I do as well that, because I'm always like, even just doing my other quantum memoirs, this is the information that I needed to take in for that day. Yeah, so a day for me could be this whole thing.
Okay.
And I have a whole, I mean, at this point, I have about half of this book filled up. And, but for a lot of these, when I do them, it isn't just a one-day thing. So I might spend a whole week doing this.
Yes.
So if I'm doing the other thing, it's like, okay, now I got to do this. Oh, but I have to do this. And it's too much. It's just too much, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm hearing is like what I was saying is that then you're not, it's a matter of customizing it for you. So what if you didn't use tarot specifically and you just like, it might just be where, okay, say today is the ground sphere and it's the one sphere you're going to do. And it might just be a shape or a color you put down.
I can try that.
You see what I'm like? So what you're saying is that one page took you a week to do. Well, that's the idea of the waxing and waning pages, is that each one, you know, there's the waxing one and the waning one. Each one of those takes you 2 weeks to complete.
Right.
So if you just did, you know, a sphere a day, and it's not even exactly a sphere a day, it works out to be like 6 spheres a day or a week, you know, you have a couple days off, then you're putting down whatever message that comes to you. It doesn't have to be through tarot.
No, and I don't, and it just reminded me of that because otherwise, see, if I don't do the tarot, then I have to put even more thought into it.
Oh, okay.
When I got other things that I need to be thinking about, you know, and these are all relevant because everything I do is relevant to my path. It's all, everything I do is a reflection of where I am now and where I am going. I rarely look at the past, so I'm almost always in the now and looking forward to the future. And once in a while, I reflect on the past, but so I think in you know in the sense that of the purpose of the waxing and waning. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know but what I'd like to play around with is for me to reflect on my cycle.
Okay.
Make it for me, maybe just making it a practice to, because I always have this with me, make it a practice to reflect on this. If I need some more information, if I'm feeling like, okay, I need to know some more about this, then I can work on another thought form. We'll just call it a thought form.
Yeah.
And it may not involve all of the spheres, maybe just the center spheres, or maybe I work with a different sacred geometry format, you know, like 3 spheres that make a triangle. I'm thinking about, I've been learning more about sacred geometry lately, and I would like to start working with some of these other sacred geometry forms and pulling the spheres into those and seeing how that works. Because there might be days where it's like, okay, I only have like three little components here that I need to play with. Okay. And just work with that. Or maybe, you know, I mean, even just having a circle can be, you know, I mean, when I was doing this one,
I love that. I didn't realize it was so big. Oh my God.
This was for the, you know, this is like my logo for the club. But while I was doing this, I was really taking in, you know, I have all of the spheres in there. And even though I didn't fill anything in, I gave them all a color. And yet I was still, there's a level that I trust in myself that I don't need to have words for all of these things. I don't need to express it. Maybe just color is enough. And so sometimes it's just one sphere for me and just exploring that. But that's kind of I think for this next cycle, I'd like to explore maybe some other ways for me to do a daily practice. Yeah. Because if I'm having this problem with this daily thing, I know other people will too.
Yeah.
so giving them, because and there might be times where like when I did this one, I was really tuned into it and I had a lot to put in there, and if that works, great. But if it just comes out like that, I'd be like, that's fine too.
Uh-huh. Well, because then, like, say, like we're talking about the past, now when you look at that one and, going through your whole book, you'll see that you had something going on. Like, you have a very strong alignment in that page.
Yeah.
There's not a wax and a wane to it. It's just the vertical column. So then, like, that in itself, even though it's complete because it tells you something that was happening at that period of time. And so then you start to see the evolution of them. Or
yeah, and that whole centerpiece pretty much happened just all on one day. I did that.
Okay.
Just because that was what was coming up for me.
Ooh.
And so I just went with it.
I love that.
I didn't limit myself to a daily thing. I just went with it. So yeah, I mean, this could be, the shape that it takes. But
See, that's your waxing and waning. Like you do your column in the middle, and then the first 2 weeks is on the right, the waxing side, and then the other 2 weeks is on the waning side. It's kind of like another moon, like how you might do your moon chart. I like that idea of doing that strong vertical column like the tree trunk, and then everything else is branches to the left and right of it.
Oh, see, now
it's
that
like
could,
a brain. It's like left and right side of your brain. Do you see that?
Yeah, yeah. No, I see that. And so yeah, that I like that idea. And then the things that happen on each side could be different. Maybe the spheres aren't in there the way that they would be in that thought form, but yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
So what I'm hearing overall, from what you're saying, and then also from, conversations I have with Bodhi and other people, is that it's a matter of time and discipline. So what I see, like my opinion, my perspective of people is that they complain that there's no organization in their life, or they can't get anywhere, or everything's against them, but they don't put in the actual discipline to push through whatever that barrier is to get something started, or to get a momentum going. So where I'm at a loss is to help, like, I'm disciplined, like I'm not a disciplined person, I don't think, but I've been doing this since 2018. So like I'm disciplined with this, I'm committed to it because it's something that came through me. But I don't understand how to get others to comprehend how valuable discipline is. And that you have to make if you want the change, you have to make the time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And in that respect, see, I have been doing a morning practice for over 7 years now. And I rarely ever miss a day. So when I started doing this to the quantum memoir, see, that was just a new addition to the practice I already have. And my morning, it is very much a sacred time. And I can spend 2-3 hours doing my practice.
Yeah.
And it takes different forms. It takes different shapes, but it is all, it all has that purpose of, this is my most precious time. This is my sacred time.
Yeah. So how do other people, well, we can't tell anybody. That's the thing as projectors, right? We can't tell them to be disciplined. People have to want to be disciplined.
Yeah.
So, and how do we make it easier for people to be disciplined?
And I think part of that might be something that we can do within the community. And it might involve some sort of daily prompt. something that calls people back every day. But yet it is so open that it's like, okay, basically we're saying this is, this is your time. And these are different ways that you can fill that time. But this is because if for people that that are not like you and me, that don't have a discipline, a daily practice, um number one, they've got to make the time. Most people are right there. They're just like, well, I don't have the time. So if you can start helping people to recognize that all you need is 5 minutes,
Okay.
take 5 minutes, and that could be a post in the membership. That could be, come here and just answer this question, or do something and post it.
Okay. What about
I
Bodhi's reflections? Have you seen those?
Yes, exactly. And if we start
That's
getting people involved, is also going to be part of how we model that. So yeah, I generally have something after my morning period, however long it is. Sometimes it's only 15 minutes, and sometimes it kind of goes in and out. But I generally have something I can take a picture of, because that's part of my practice.
Yes.
And sometimes it might just be journal writing, where I take a picture of that and it's kind of blurred out where you can't really read it, but at least I'm sharing that, okay, this, because see, I also write in the morning. I do all kinds of things in the morning.
So what I'm hearing is to show our discipline
Yes.
visually.
Yes.
To visually show our discipline. So then it goes back to the daily practice. You don't have the time to do one of those spheres necessarily, but Bodhi does. So Bodhi is doing like a seed word a day, and he's using his custom seed words along with the 7 seed words. So that could be a prompt for somebody. I'll do the same. I do my daily tarot. But that still won't, you're saying that we need to get them engagement. So then I'm going to kind of table this a little bit, because I think this might go in with our other thing, the audience. So I don't want to talk about that too much, because I have a lot of stuff that I've ironed out for that. But in getting that engagement with people to be disciplined, to get them to ponder something.
So I think that for now, let's just set up a topic. Daily practice. That gives people a place to post. It gives people a place to go to see what others are doing, and all 3 of us will be posting in there. And you're going to be, mine will just be whatever picture I come up with. So mine is going to be a more it's not going to look like yours. And I think that's what's important about me being in this community, is that I'm going to show people that a daily practice doesn't have to look the same every day.
Yes. Yeah. Not only does it not have to look like mine, but it doesn't have to look like yours the same every day.
Exactly. Exactly. But what you see, if you take on a daily practice, whatever form it takes, after a period of time, especially if you start taking pictures of it, you're going to start to see a common thread.
Yeah.
And that's what I have. I mean, and I do it. Mine are all done in my journals. So I have the journals to reflect on, to go through. And then, I post sporadically on Instagram too, but I think there's just, I don't know. I like the idea of doing it in our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then if it gets shared out to Instagram, that's fine, but I'd like make the daily practice just part of the we collective, so that everybody has access to it. It's not in a private club or group or anything like that.
Right. That's why we want everybody to see this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I set up a topic already that's called meditative reflections, and that's Bodhi's daily, Bodhiisms, or whatever you want to call them. So we could probably use that topic, and so that we could all, that's where someone would go for daily inspiration, and then we could see if we have common threads of what we're intuiting for the day, like our message for the day. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that if we opened it up and just called it daily.
Daily?
Yeah, instead of meditative, because it's not meditative for everyone. And I have some very Christian, in fact, one of the gals that just joined the other day, Gretchen, meditation to her it's prayer for her. So that could be a hot word for some people.
Yes. Okay, I got it. I like it. So the daily reflections, we'll post those, and then
just make it a day
rhythm.
So even reflections. I mean, what if it's just daily practice? Because for some people it might not be a reflection.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that topic doesn't have to change, because you can have more than one. Can't you have more than one topic within
You can only pick one topic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it can. I tried before. I think you can only pick one topic. Maybe that's something that they'll change in the future, but
yeah, there might be tags that you can do. So there might be something else, but yeah, for the topics. And I really like because the topics is something people can click on and go to a topic.
See multiple.
Yeah. So if we open it up and make it so that anybody, nobody's gonna, I don't know. I might be wrong.
What?
Doing a daily practice, if it's just a daily practice. And that also helps people get in if we use the word practice, one of the things that's in the network right now is that word practice. And a lot of people aren't going to understand that this is where like my multimedia, mixed media videos are and stuff like that. These are a practice. So if we want to keep that terminology, we need to tie it in with something else.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. And I do like the word practice.
Yes. And then I am figuring out how to work it in and teach people. In fact, I did a post this morning around, how to find things in my club. Here's the club, here's the, So I'm figuring out all of that, because people are going to have to get their heads around how Mighty Networks works.
Yeah.
But with more and more people using Mighty Networks, hopefully it will become second nature, like Facebook has for people.
Yeah, I think it will, especially if they're getting something from it. And that goes back to the other thing that we'll do about audience, that they're getting a value from it, engagement. Okay, so I like practice because it's like discipline, but it's a softer word than discipline, where we're trying to show people that you have to be practiced at something in order for it to return favorable results.
Yes. Yeah. And for some people, it's going to be an art practice. For other people, it's going to be a journal practice. And others, it's going to be a quantum memoir practice. So as long as it can include that, whatever can fit in there.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing right now is something that, like, I'm going to kind of pull back around to what we talked about before, with the moon cycle and the waxing and waning and the seed words and how do they line up. Did you ever see the Gregorian style calendar that I made for the quantum memoir?
Yeah.
So it had like 4 columns.
Yeah.
7 seed words. So then it really was visual. Like, I feel like that is like a training wheels for people to understand how these cycles loop together. So when I did do that practice, it gave me a whole lot of perspective of how the sun and the moon and the earth rotate. Like, it's not a consistent, circle. Like, it goes faster and slower, right? So it actually changes the amount of time or days between these phases and cycles. So the Gregorian calendar doesn't work because it's very square. It doesn't, like, it's not literal, but it's a really good symbol and representation of how you have a activate, you have an evaluate, you have a trust, and you have a surrender. And then you have the 7 seed words that you go through each one of those phases. So I feel like it's a really good visual, But
Yeah.
because it's not in the circles and this like in the fruit of
Yeah.
life, I felt like it was too far away from what I'm trying to show people, and that it was confusing people, even though it helped make sense too. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering from you, if you've seen that, the perspective of, does that make it easier to understand why it's important to go through the 7 steps, the 7 seed words, to
Mm,
focus on your purpose?
to me, it didn't really make that much of a difference, but that could just be me.
All right.
Yeah.
Hmm. So I'm trying to feel into this idea so that the moon feels good. Like you get the moon, we get the season, the solar, but the daily practice, or the daily, is either too much commitment for somebody or it's too confusing to understand why it's important. Does that like sound like the 2 challenges?
Okay, so yeah, we're talking specifically within the doing the quantum manifest, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Um and I think for some people they're going to need that daily touchstone.
right. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, cuz like I've been doing the moon one for a while and it makes sense to people, but it's too removed, because it's not a daily thing. It's just like, oh, at the new moon and the full moon, and you like without really understanding what you're doing within the waxing and what you're doing within the waning, it kind of, I feel like, loses its potency. So I guess that's what I'm getting to is, how can I help you or other people understand the value of the waxing energy and the waning energy? Because everybody else seems to focus heavily on the new moon and the full moon. Like,
But it's still in the cycle. It's still in the full cycle. In fact, you spend more time
yes.
in the waxing and the waning in here. And when I just use this is easier for me because
Okay.
I can get one eyeball on it, you know? It's like I don't have to go over here and go, okay, now how does this match up with this?
Right.
And
Right.
then oh my God, and then there's this, and it's this is like this is easier for me to visualize, to see, to understand. And I can even take this because of the way that I'm doing this. I can actually take this out of my
Ooh,
journal
I love
and
it.
I can put this up someplace so I see it every day.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm really getting into using journals where the pages are all loose.
I love that. I
And
want to
then,
get my
when you've completed a chapter, then you can sew them together.
yes.
But otherwise, it's like all I have to have is this sheet with me, and
Okay.
I can take this with me. I can put it up someplace, and for me, that is what works.
Okay. So I'm hearing that the moon cycle is clear enough. It has enough clarity in it that you do understand the value of waxing and waning,
Yes.
where many people just focus on the new moon and full moon. But what are you doing to get up there? And what are you doing
Right.
afterwards? Like,
Right.
okay.
Well, you've got 4 spheres on each side. You spend more time and I questioned that at first when I started this. I was
Remember,
like,
that's why
"Why am I
that's why
spending so much time here?" But doing it this way has really helped. Doing it doing the individual ones at times, I think this could be helpful.
okay.
If you're really super focused on something, and you need that daily touchstone, this is a great option. But I like to think of it as an option.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it has added benefit. It has added value, but it's not absolutely necessary in order to complete a full cycle. It's
Okay.
just an additional.
Yeah.
And that might make it easier for people to take in because they may, that way they can go, okay, well, I can't do this every day, but I can touch on this every few days. And that's what this where this comes in. And yeah, if they can make it like, and I can do I could do a little video on that too, on how you can, make these individuals like this.
Mhm.
um I don't know, of course it loses the other page that goes with it, but that's
Oh
okay.
yeah, it's spread.
Yeah, it loses the other half, but that's okay. That's okay. This is just this is just the note page. That's what I look at. It's just where I do all my chicken scratching.
All right. All right. Okay, so with the quantum manifest, when we eventually get to that practice that we can offer people, here's the cycles, all the cycles that you could play with. When you do your quantum manifest, you take the cycles that work for you. So maybe the waxing and waning cycle won't work and the season cycle is unnecessary, but you'll do the solar and the moon. Or maybe someone will do all of them like me. Or
Yeah.
there'll be like, you pick and choose like the chapters that you want in your quantum manifest, like the components of your quantum manifest.
And when you're talking about the manifest too, I think that working in the individual waning and waxing, if we take out the idea that these have to be a part of the waning and waxing, and they're just a daily, it like like some people, they write down the day before what they want to do the next day. These spheres can be used that way. They can be used as a planning tool, or what I generally use it as is more of an unplanning tool. So instead of, I don't write down what I'm going to do, I write down what I did. So I create, and I started calling them unplanners years ago, because I'm not planning, I'm just recording.
Okay, and that's how Bodhi and I do our moon chart.
Yeah.
Moon chart is just what's happened, so that we can look and connect the dots to see where we're at based on what's happened.
Yeah. And I think if it's presented in that way, where it's just a place to record your daily activity, and not, I mean, for me, I'm taking out the seed words, because for that daily interaction, because what I did doesn't necessarily align up with that. And it's too much mental work to try to figure out how it aligns. And maybe it doesn't even align. So when I did this one, I was not using the seed words at all.
Okay.
I was just going with, and I did, even though I didn't complete the visual over here, I did do the notes.
Okay. So the energy.
So that also showed me that, okay, maybe I don't do the visuals, but see, I drew cards every day for that.
Okay.
And I took notes on the side.
So are you committed, when you're doing one of your memoirs, The Fruit of Life, that you're wanting to do it colorful and pretty, but you have the other one over there that is like the chicken scratch and pencil? Can that be good enough to where you're not doubling it up?
It all depends. It all depends. I do the note taking to try to get my mental head around something.
Yeah.
And I do the coloring as more of that deeper, you can call it right-brained work, but it's that deeper level work that maybe I'm not conscious of.
Right.
So I'm taking the visible, the conscious thoughts, and when I'm doing the coloring, that's my meditation. That's when I'm taking it in on a very, very deep level where I'm not even conscious of it. I'm just coloring. On the surface, I'm just coloring.
Uh-huh.
There's something in very, very important about that part. And that's one of my messages that I'm really working on getting across to people, is that you may think that you're just coloring, but really you're doing this deeper work, as long as you don't try to think about it too much.
Yeah, force it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to let go and just have fun. There's a part of you that just, it's that inner child just wants to color, just wants to have fun, right? include all of that. It doesn't all have to be about this adult, you know, getting things done, making things happen, understanding everything. And I know that's hard for us thinkers, you know, to let go of the thinking, but that's what I use it for.
Okay.
When I draw an image on here, I try to not make sense of it.
That's good, because I'm always I'm like, what does it mean?
Yeah, yeah. And I let go of that because I know that there's a deeper part of myself or a higher part of myself that is communicating. And that's the space that I create for my inner and higher self to connect.
Right.
And it means I have to get out of the way.
Yeah.
So I have to stop thinking and just, so the coloring is that's a sacred space.
Okay. So it's the same thing that I get, that when I have my notes on the left hand side that are like the thoughts that come out, and then I reflect it into the fruit of life, and then I usually try to make that more visually, you know, connection. So when I write down something in pencil, then I take a colored pencil and I'm working with different colors and I'm retracing. And I've always wondered, I'm like, I'm just doubling my work, but I understand what I'm doing. It's necessary. Like, I'm writing it and then I'm tracing and rewriting it. Like, I'm connecting with it in multiple ways.
Yes.
That's beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, that's that repetitive. And when I first started teaching visual journaling, one of the activities that we did was that retracing over. And, you know, some people would be like, oh, but why am I doing it again? I go, just trust it. This is the deeper work. You're doing the deeper work. You're going over it and over it. And I like to go over things several times, you know, especially if you're doing one great example of it is the fancy lettering that we do. Because, you know, first you do it, you get your little pencil outline, and then you get in there with your pen, and then you get in there with your color, and then you might go over it again with your pen, and you're going over those phrases, whatever you're writing, you're going over and over and over it again. That is meditation.
Yes, actually, you just said something that I want to say out loud. When I was doing some studies the other day, I came across a video that was talking about, like you were saying about sharing these things are important. So for me, what I found is that what I've done on Instagram is that because I post these pictures and I share my personal experience and reflection of it, you know, I'm getting one thing from thinking it and writing it down, another thing from rewriting it. But there's a whole nother thing that's happening when I'm taking this image and I'm putting it on Instagram. And what I've learned from this thing that I listened to is that saying things out loud, speaking them out loud, breaks the cycle of repetition of the old habits that are inside your mind. So when I get to share these ponderings, I'm never talking to anybody else on Instagram but myself. I'm telling myself something that is breaking an old pattern in my mind. So having these things like we're saying, the daily, daily practice, this is going to help people break the old habit that they've been doing every day. And it gives them a new thought to breathe into their life, like a new zest of energy. So basically what we're doing is we're taking new impressions and we're, we're taking these impressions that have been downloaded to us and then we're broadcasting it out. So the one thing that I was hoping that people would come on and question, ask, and they're not. So let's us talk about is, what is the hindrance for people to share their authenticity or their art, you know, because it's not perfect or right or like spelling or whatever like that. People, in my opinion, are missing out on breaking that pattern of thought because they're just closing themselves off in their own loop. They're not putting themselves out in a way that will break that loop. But it's all about what they have to say and what they have to show. So what is the hindrance, the block of the saying and the showing that some people are missing out on. Yeah.
Okay, I think you need to take it even a step back from that, is why are people apprehensive about sharing? And this is something that I'm doing a lot more in my groups, and I used to not do this. People actually really liked it when they could come to my groups and know that they didn't have to share, because I never asked anybody to share, okay? Because we were doing personal journal work.
Right.
But last year, when I started doing online classes to get people engaged, I started asking people to share. And most of the people in my groups have been with my live groups classes for a long time. And all of a sudden they were like, wow, this is so valuable. I get so much more out of it when I share, because you can reflect on it from a different perspective. Once it's out there, then you can see it. And you're like, and you can see that everybody else can see it.
Then you have feelings about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it changes it. That is probably been one of the biggest things that I have changed in my group to help people, was that opening it up to the sharing. And some people, I generally don't have a problem getting people to share in a group, because once one person shares, then, and I always let people know, you're not obligated to do this, but so they know that I don't have to share because somebody else shares, because that can be a real pressure. Okay. There's peer pressure.
Yeah.
But they saw that, wow, nothing bad happened when that person shared. But one of the things that I have really kind of kept kind of a bit of a tight rein on in my groups is, when somebody shares, we just listen. We don't comment. We don't, unless they ask specifically for support, help, comments. It's, somebody will share, and the only thing I say is, thank you for sharing.
Okay.
And when I say that, everybody knows the next person's up, and I've gotten very, very disciplined about the way that I do share. So that, when we're sharing online, it kind of breaks that, and makes it so people are more vulnerable, because if they share, then people can comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that opens up a whole nother vulnerability for people. Yeah. People aren't sure if they belong in the world. They aren't sure that they are okay in the world. They don't know if what they're thinking is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can find small ways for people to share in small ways, and inch their way up to, because people see what I share and it's like intimidating, because it's like, well, geez, I'd never share that. And then, I show them, yeah, but that great piece of artwork that I did really started out like that. And then they're like, oh. Mm-hmm. So, finding ways to break that, and I think it goes back to our school days.
Mm-hmm.
Show and tell, raising your hand, being called on, being put on the spot, things like that. We have a lot of past history of putting ourselves out there and having, all the kids laugh at us, or make fun of us, or it just fell flat, or we got the answer wrong.
Yes.
And we were made to feel bad about being wrong. We were made to feel bad about being seen. Like, if you didn't get it right and you weren't perfect, then bad things happened.
Okay.
So we need to create an environment where good things happen. And as moderators, we need to be on that. So if somebody in the group posts a comment that is not supportive, we need to immediately delete it. We need to let them know, no. And I don't see us having that. I don't have that problem in my groups, but it can happen. So we need to create, and that's what I've really done with my groups, is I create a safe space. And that's what I see our community as, is a safe space.
Okay.
And I'm going to encourage my members, that let them know that if you post in the main Quantum We collective,
Hmm.
everybody can see it. It's public. But if you
Yeah.
aren't comfortable with that, go over to the club, go over to the
Right.
practice, post in there, because
Yeah.
then only our little group of people are going to
Right.
see that.
Your
So
niche.
it gives people a way. It's like, okay, I can start here,
Hmm.
but they can branch out. And that's where we want to get people to, where they are opening up to the world.
A bridge. Okay, so I got it. All right. Yes, a bridge. We're
Yeah.
so it's about, so is it safe? Instagram and Facebook is not a safe place for the anybody, like a general person, to go and post something. Like I knew that when I started, that okay, I'm going to say things that someone might be offended and someone might not like it, or they don't, you know, that's not safe for some people to do. I wouldn't suggest that everybody does that. And that's where my um I feel like I've missed an element of energy and connection, is that other people won't post their quantum memoirs on Instagram or Facebook because it's open up to the general public that just won't get it or understand or don't need to know that specific thing about them. But with our Quantum Week collective, then we funneled down, okay, these are just people that are artists, creators, high consciousness, that are trying to make, you know, evolution happen. They're trying to be evolution. So
That needs to be in the
place.
tagline. That needs to be in the tagline.
What's that?
What you just said.
Oh, good thing we're recording, because I don't.
Good thing we're recording. I know.
But it's a do-it-yourself guide to evolution, quantum memoir.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you have a safe place that you can share that in. So then you could hear yourself and you can gain new perspective of it. But then, like what you're saying, is that then even within that Quantum Week collective, there's even smaller niches of even more private, where, okay, you know, these 13 people or these people in this group
Yes.
that you're very much more intimate with. So it's kind of like those nesting dolls.
Yeah.
You have Instagram, that's where we talk. And then you have the Quantum Week collective. It's much more specific to the energy that's in it. And then you have the clubs that are very, much more specific.
And then you have messaging. You can individually communicate with an individual. And some people, different people are going to feel differently in different size groups. I'm in a group right now called the Course Creators Workshop or something like that. And it's a 6-month long thing. And there I started, I'm heading up one of the small groups. So she broke us out optionally into smaller groups that I'm going to be leading for the next 6 months. And immediately I recognized that I had 2 gals in there that were not comfortable posting in the main Facebook group, even though it's a private group. And even though it's just for us, it was still too big. And there's like a little over 100 people in it. And we were just like, no, they were afraid to post anything in there. So they actually requested that I started a very small, there's only 5 of us in it, a group of 5 people on a Facebook group just for us. And they were like, oh, good, now I can share. I was like, oh, okay. So different size groups are going to feel, for some people, 100 people might be small.
It's all relative. And so what I wrote down, it's an undoing of our youth.
Yeah.
The reason that people can't share is like what you said, it's like from the school age days. So what we're trying to do is help adults undo that, being selected or picked on or called out or whatever. Trying to show that expressing yourself vulnerably is okay. You will be okay.
Yeah, I mean, that in a nutshell is what I do. I help women undo the damage that happened in childhood that told them you are not creative. You are not an artist. You are not good enough.
Right.
And that's why I attract a lot of people that don't think they are creative, but they're curious. So they get in
They
the
are.
mind.
It's just inside. Yeah.
That's why everything I do has to be really open. It's going to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing, but it doesn't matter if you mess this up. And I purposefully, almost purposefully, most of the time it's just real stuff that's happening.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's just
I'm really messing things up, and I don't edit that out. I just don't edit it out because that's what people come for. They want to see me make these mistakes, and not to make the mistakes and then fix it. Because sometimes I don't fix it. Sometimes it's not fixable. And sometimes it just has to be okay.
Yes. All right. So now I'm feeling like to pull this all together. So
Yes.
we have the quantum memoir, which is a framework, a thought form that people can take their ideas and energies and concepts and focus and put it down on a page. And what we're trying to get to is to get them to be able to share that in a safe, comfortable way so that they can learn more about themselves, because that will help the collective communicate and comprehend and talk and grow.
Yes.
So while we don't have anybody on this call, I think that we should take this video. I'll take it and put it on YouTube and we can put it in the collective. So anybody that wants to hear the things that we talked about, maybe they can tap into them.
Yes, absolutely.
And then maybe it'll prompt questions for them. So then the next thing would be that we have. So let me just close that. Like, let me just close this, right? You don't have any other questions, do you, Karen? You have tons of them, but
I got tons of them, but sometimes the questions are more important than the answers.
Bingo, because answers are not always truths. They're just temporary explanations or understandings to get you to the next.
Or possibilities.
Possibilities. Yes, the answers are possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're just revealing in a very authentic, vulnerable way that this is what we're doing, and we don't necessarily have the truth, because the truth is more important to the person for them to come up with their own answer and interpretation of something, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I truly believe that everybody has to find their own answers. They have their own answers, and the space that we are creating helps people to find their own truth.
Yeah.
We're not offering up a truth or anything. We're offering up possibilities, pathways, for people to find what works for them.
Because what I'm finding is that I can't really teach this. It's something that people just have to experience. Would you agree that you experiencing it with me and doing it with me is different than if you just read my website and said, okay, this is how I'm supposed to do it?
Oh, absolutely. And and there's times where I think I think I understand it, and then I do it and it's like, okay, so I am figuring out my own way through this.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
absolutely.
evolving for you.
Yes.
You evolving it for you evolves it for me.
Yeah. And the more we share, the more it will help other people to open up to their own evolution. And every time we evolve individually, we evolve collectively.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's really the purpose of what we're doing, is to help the individuals grow so that we can grow as a whole.
Yeah. And so then we're done?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for playing with me, Karen. What would I do without you?
This was wonderful. Thank you.